ثانيا على محبة الإمامين الصدقين الحسن والحسين.
اللهم صل على محمد.
ثالثا على محبة الزهراء بعلى أصواتكم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين. اللهم صل على لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين الإمام الثاني عشر صلوات الله عليه. القول مني في جميع الأحوال قول آل محمد صلوات الله عليهم فيما أسروا وفيما أعلنوا وفيما بلغني عنهم وفيما لم يبلغني. Respected brothers in faith, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. It is an absolute pleasure to be here on the second night, and inshallah ta'ala we will continue this journey, and we hope that we can have in the upcoming days a Q&A where we can have something back and forth, questions and answers, and so that we can maximize the benefit, inshallah ta'ala. The topic for today, it's quite long. I will require some time, but I will try to compress as much as I can because of the time, and we were also a bit late. The topic is Islam outdated? A lot of those individuals present today the idea that Islam is outdated right now. It's old. It's an old curriculum. And by old, when they say old, they have in mind that we are living in the era of scientism, of science, of believing in evidence, and thus we don't need this Islam of this era. And so this is the idea. Now before I go into discussing that, I want to give a brief introduction and inform you, brothers, that a lot of people judge that based on Muslims. So let's for example, when they look at some Muslim countries which are not developed, which speak in the name of Islam, and they see that, for example, this country is not civilized, and so they automatically deduce and conclude that Islam is the problem, and that is definitely not the case. If we go back to history and read and scrutinize, we will see that one of the top founders of different things were Muslim scholars. If we go back to history, we will see that one of the forefathers and founders of chemistry is an individual named Jabir ibn Hayyan, who was a student of Imam Sadiq. This is a Muslim person. He used evidence, he wrote books, and he's an expert in chemistry. A person named Al-Khwarizmi is the founder of algebra, algorithms, this whole study. He was a source of that. So why do you present the idea that is Islam outdated? There's a flaw somewhere. We will go into depth right now. Now, usually when you question is Islam outdated, when you question anything, like for example, let's say if you have a car, if you own a car, and somebody asks you, is this car outdated? How do you determine that? You look at several factors. You look at the mileage on the car. You look at the model of the car, the year, the engine, the gear, how it operates. If it's in a healthy condition, you say no, it's a healthy car. Let's you and I today, right now, apply these formulas to Islam. Let's see what benefits, what is the level of reflection of Islam on us. If we come to a conclusion that the level of reflection and the depth of Islam is that of value, then the idea or the notion that Islam is outdated is flawed. Now let's look at a few examples. Let's begin and look at Islam socially, brothers. And I want you to really pay attention to the examples I will be giving. And later on, if you have any questions, please do approach me. Amir al-Mu'mineen, salawatullahi alayhi, Ali ibn Abi Talib, was once approached by two ladies. There's something known as Baytul Mal, which is the public treasury of the Muslims. Okay? And that's where it's like the Muslim bank. If Muslims need support, money, anything, that's where the money is. So once two ladies approached Amir al-Mu'mineen, one was an Arab and one was a non-Arab. And that's narrated in Wasa'il al-Shia as a source. So they both were asking for money. They needed something. So Amir al-Mu'mineen, salawatullahi alayhi, and this is 1400 years ago. You know, those who say equality and equity, and we live in a very developed society, and thanks to the West and science, and alhamdulillah we have developed. Listen to this. This is 1400 years ago, when nobody knew about equity and equality and value and comparison. Amir al-Mu'mineen, and by the way, back then, the Arabs had some sort of feeling of dominance over others. Because they felt that A, the Quran came down with their language, B, their prophet is an Arab prophet, right? So they felt that dominance or that, feeling of pleasure. Amir al-Mu'mineen gave the Arab and the non-Arab the same exact amount, which left them unhappy, the people. Why did you do that? He told them, because in my eyes, they are both humans. They are both the same. She is in need, and she is also in need. This is Islam. This is called equality. 1400 years ago, before these notions came about. Now, that's one part. Let's look at something else. Now we viewed social, we viewed equity and equality. Let's look at preciseness on the social level. Amir al-Mu'mineen, as the leader, a lot of people come to him. Questions, concerns, they want to do something, they want help, etc. So what Amir al-Mu'mineen used to do, he used to take some money from the public treasury, okay, to help support and facilitate these meetings. So for example, he used to purchase a candle, okay, and lit the candle to see the others at night, for example, and sit up talk. One time, he was speaking with somebody who came and visited him, and he lit the candle, they started talking. One of Amir al-Mu'mineen's family members came to visit him. So this person was a guest, left Amir al-Mu'mineen with his family members. Now, what did Amir al-Mu'mineen do? And this is what Ammar ibn Yasir, one of the close companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen, explained to us. Amir al-Mu'mineen put out the candle that was lit and lit a different candle right after it. So one of the people who was sitting was like, why did you do that? Like, why did you put out one candle and lit another candle? For what reason is that? What was the need? You didn't do anything. He told him, no. This candle was a candle that I purchased using the money of the mu'mineen, of the Muslimin, from the public treasury. I cannot use it during my personal time. I am only allowed to use it during the time I'm interacting and meeting with others. This is called preciseness. Now here's my question to you guys. Keep it in the back of your mind. On naturalism, because those who ask the question of, or dictate Islam is outdated, usually hold the position which they consider the default position of agnosticism, for example, or disbelief. On naturalism, what would be the equivalence act? How would you, as a person, as a naturalist, as a person who doesn't believe in these virtues, how would you have dealt with that? And don't tell me, well, I would have done this, this, and that. Give me a theory. Give me your theory. What do you base what you do upon? Now, we viewed preciseness. Lastly, on the social level, look at what Amir al-Mu'mineen is going to be doing. This is a very good example, and I don't believe I've heard a more interesting story than this. This is a very interesting story. One time, Amir al-Mu'mineen, salamullahi alayhi, there was a man that had 17 camels. I want you to all pay attention to this. It's very important. And it's a very nice story to take home with you. 17 camels. Somebody owned 17 camels. And he had 3 sons. And he told his sons, who were on a different financial level, one was rich, one was less rich. He told the first one, if I were to die, I want you to have and to own half of the camels I have. He told his second son, we'll start to use math over here, right? He told his second son, if I were to die, I want you to take 1/3 of the camels I have. And he told his third son, if I die, I want you to take 1/9 of the camels I have. Right? So, the father died one day. And now they come and they want to divide the camels between them. There's 17 camels. The first one should get half, right? What's half of 17? 8.5. How can you get 8.5? 8 camels and then slaughter one and then get like only half of it? What's 1/3 of 17? That's around 5.6. It doesn't make sense. And now the third person, the third son, gets 1/9 of 19, which is I think around 1.8. What should we do right now? Pay attention to the solution. Look at these complexities on the social levels, and a lot of these exist right now in inheritance and so many things, and there's so many things we can speak about. But I'm trying to compress things and to show you what Islam preaches, which is something that's universal no matter the era. So these 3 sons approached Amir al-Mu'mineen and were like, we have a discrepancy right now. We don't know what to do. There are 17 camels, we don't know how to divide them. Amir al-Mu'mineen, what he did, he had 1 camel, which he owned. He took this camel and he added that 1 camel of his own on the 17. Now it's 18. He told them, now, let's leave this for a moment. Let's add this to your list. All good? The first one gets half, right? So what's half of 18? 9. The first one took 9. He told him, you took 9, you may leave. He left. The second one, how much? 1/3 of 18. What's 1/3 of 18? That's 6. So we have 9 left because the first took 9. There's 9 left. The second one took 6. How much do we have left? We have 3 left. And the third son has to get 1/9 of the 18 camels. What's 1/9 of the 18 camels? That's 2. He took the 2, he left, and Amir al-Mu'mineen got his last camel back. Because we had 3 at the end, right? He took the 2, and Amir al-Mu'mineen got his own back. What an interesting story. Now here's my question to you. On naturalism, explain to me what you would have done. And I'm not saying like you guys what we have done. I'm asking you to have such a solid argument in front of those who try to degrade from your religion. Now, we spoke about the social benefits. These are social benefits. Now let's see what Islam provides on the psychological plane. What kind of psychological comfort does Islam give you? Every single human being knows this one thing, this established fact. Whether you are religious, whether you are not religious. No matter the case, we all know that we commit sin. We commit sin. This is our nature. We make mistakes. Now, a person of disbelief, a person of disbelief, how can he make up for his sins? Based on his ideology, based on his thoughts. There isn't much. What do we have? We have prayer, which is what I touched upon yesterday. I touched upon the fact that we have stations every single day. 5 stations. 5 times we pray, 5 stations to communicate with God. It's an act of repentance and to express that we are sorry for what we have committed, sins if we have. This gives you psychological comfort. When you make a sin and you stand and say, oh Allah, I committed this sin. I did this. You speak out. You feel that comfort, that, okay, I feel like I expressed to God, I was transparent. I feel like God understands me right now. He's going to forgive me if I do things right. A person who doesn't have this belief, what comfort can he have? Now come tell me Islam is outdated. If you want to prove to me Islam is outdated, give me an alternative to prayer that can put you at rest and comfort. There isn't. I've debated a lot of atheists and agnostics, and this is something that we will discuss soon. Sometimes I listen to them, and I'm very stressed because I see a person in front of me, believing in an idea that one day he's going to go to non-existence. He's going to die. They're going to cremate him. Cremation. They're going to put him in a jar. He's going to become dust. Put him in a jar and put him next to salt and the counter. How does he digest the idea that I'm going to be nothing? I'm not going to exist anymore. I'm not going to be a person anymore. I'm done. There's no hereafter, nothing. This is very stressful. Whereas you doubt me as a person who, has an outdated religion, I believe in a hereafter. Whatever I do good, I would receive that later on. Exponentially. This is the psychological comfort that Islam gives. And that's why you notice a lot of those who don't have that psychological comfort try to induce it by doing meditation, by the so-called yoga and meditation and self-enlightenment and all these activities. Why have these emerged? For what reason? Because by nature, humans need psychological comfort. And Allah has placed the means for that. But they decided to go astray and not use the means that Allah Ta'ala has appointed. So they come up with these meditation, enlightenment, etc. Now that is on the psychological plane. Let's look at one last thing on this topic. Is Islam outdated? Now we're applying Islam one by one. We're trying to challenge Islam to see what can it do for us on the social plane, on the psychological plane. Let's see. Lastly, family. What does Islam talk about family? What does it express? What does it say? Family is something that's very crucial. We all grow up in families, so it doesn't make sense that Islam doesn't speak anything about this certain topic. One of the major teachings in Islam, dictated by all of our Imams, is it is the responsibility of the father to choose a good and a wise name for his son. We all know, and if you guys want, you can search this up as well. Your name has an effect on your personality. Your name has a direct effect on your personality. You may say, how? Well, try it. Okay. Bring any person without telling him and say something. Say, for example, you're a nice person, I like you, I respect you, you are well behaved. You're gonna find that he's happier, he's calm, he's thanking you, he's giving you some compliments. Bring the same person and say some very triggering words. You didn't do this, you didn't do that, you're not a good person. The same person is going to be affected. Words and names affect us. Islam has placed a responsibility upon our parents to give us a wise name, A. B, to teach us, which is the doctrine of our religion, the Quran, okay, and to raise us in an ethical manner based on morals. So it is the response. It's mandatory. It is mandatory. I repeat, it's mandatory upon the parents to do that. It's not optional. It's mandatory upon the parents to do that. It is mandatory upon the parent to guide his son to the right path. Now, on naturalism, explain to me how others have the same thing. A person who has this belief. We interact with a lot of the Westerns over here. Based on what I have seen, at least in Canada, they don't teach them. The only thing that they give them, Daddy, don't do this, Daddy, don't do that, that's wrong, hands off. These things, these very basic things. So now here's my question, I repeat. Who are you as a person to come criticize my religion when my religion is way ahead of you, taking into consideration that 1400 years ago it had these teachings, not only today. We must take this into consideration. Not anybody who comes and criticizes you or forwards a question to you should shake you or should make you have second thoughts on what your religion is and how it operates. We have to be, as I said yesterday, resilient. You see how we're building upon things? It's a very systematic process that we're following. Alhamdulillah. Now, two more things that I will conclude. How to present Islam to those around me. It depends. It depends on the person. But generally speaking, we have to present Islam to those around us in a manner that causes them to gravitate towards Islam. One of the things you can do is search up the scientific evidences in the Quran. What kind of scientific evidence do we have? I remember reading one verse in the Quran. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. فَمَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. Whoever God wills to give him guidance, he would unfold his heart to Islam. وَمَنْ يَرِدْ أَنْ يَضِلَّهُ يَجْعَلْ صَدْرَهُ ضَيِّقًا حَرِجًا كَأَنَّمَا يَصَّعَّدُ فِي السَّمَاءِ. And whoever he wants to misguide him, he would make his heart very constricted. Like, look at this comparison. This is a metaphor. He's going to make his heart very constricted. Those who want misguidance. He's going to make his heart very constricted, like going on high altitudes. Now, this verse is presented 1400 years ago. People don't know what's the connection between misguidance, a constricted heart, and going on high altitudes. Today, as science ascended to Islam, Islam is higher than science. Science ascended to Islam. We got to know specifically that as we go and approach high altitudes, there's less Oxygen. Less oxygen, less breathing. Less breathing, pressure on the heart. So the Quran gives an analogy a long time ago. This is scientific evidence. We have another verse in the Quran, and there are so many scientific evidence which we can stumble upon. Basically, it says, He who have created day and night, the sun and the moon, in an orbital manner. Can you search when did we discover that this is the system, an orbital manner? Do your research. Less than 100 years ago. Islam said this 1400 years ago. That's how you should present Islam to others. A, scientific evidence. Tell them this is the book. You don't have to believe, but look at, this is something interesting. If I see that a certain book has a certain teaching, which I just discovered, and that book discovered it years and years ago, that's gonna make me stop and rethink that there's something different here. I must scrutinize and investigate. And the second thing, moral virtues. Makarim al-akhlaq. By conducting yourself in a proper manner, this is going to help people gravitate toward Islam. And then you'll be presenting Islam practically, not theoretically anymore. Not by words, by evidence. You'll be presenting the actuality of Islam. The last question of this session, inshallah, after this we will conclude. A lot of people say, well, okay, this is something understandable. Let's say Islam is not outdated. We will agree with you, okay? And we will present Islam in a proper manner. Do the Islamic laws change or are they fixed? Now, a short answer to this, and keep this in mind, please. Islam is divided into 3 sections. If you want to look at it this way, like a pie, Islam, and there's 3 sections. Section number 1 is theology, the belief in God, prophethood, imamat. That's one part of Islam. This is fixed, it does not change. As we say, هذه من الثوابت, من الأصول. This is fixed. It does not undergo change at all. The second is ethics and morals. And this does not change as well. Ethics does not change. The moral virtues that was presented by Prophet Muhammad, in fact, should be implemented every single day by us as we represent and carry the word of Islam. Now, what is the third? Laws. And these laws undergo some change. I'll tell you some of the changes. I'll give a very, very simple example, and you guys might like this example. We all have tried wine grapes, which we call in Arabic waraq al-anab. We've all tried it. Now, we have a law in Islam that you cannot do sujood on the flower of something that you can eat. For example, it's prohibited. You cannot do that. Okay? So for example, if there's a leaf, I can do sujood on it. If there's a leaf that goes back to a certain fruit or vegetable, I cannot do sujood on it. Before, wine grapes were something that were eatable, you can do sujood on it. Because it's not something that's established as part of the nutrition and eating. When things change, what happened? The laws changed. So yes, some laws changed, some laws, I want to say, not all laws. Some laws changed based on our discoveries, based on our needs. And this is a very, very deep topic if you want to discuss how the laws have changed While looking at cloning, the scientific cloning that can be done, genetic cloning. Laws on eugenics, for example, establishing some genes and taking some genes from here and there and trying to express one gene over the other. So some laws do change. Keep in mind, some laws are fixed. It is based on the need of the Hajj and the area and the society and what our scholars and ulama consider. Inshallah ta'ala, if you have any questions or concerns, please come forth. We can have a back and forth. And inshallah ta'ala, soon in the upcoming days, I would like you to know and spread the word that we will have a Q&A, so a back and forth, question and answer and a discussion. We will establish a circle so that we can have a more productive session. And we will discuss very, very scientific things that you guys may benefit from, inshallah ta'ala. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.